everyone.
What's up guys, Unofficial MCU here. Hope you're all doing well, and in this video we are going to be discussing even more reveals and even more details about Avengers Doomsday movie, having officially been confirmed in an official announcement this past weekend at San Diego's Comic-Con Hall H panel with Marvel Studios. There's a lot of buzz going around surrounding the news that Robert Downey Jr. is now back as the Marvel Cinematic Universe's this time around a villain, Dr. Doom. What does this mean? Why is it important? And why do we care is exactly what we're going to be discussing all of the different details in today's video right now. Before we do though, however, grab that subscribe button if you haven't already, as we're discussing and covering all types of Marvel related news, leaks, rumors, theories, and breakdowns here on the channel. So if you guys are into any of that, go ahead and grab that subscribe button today. Okay, so in this video, we are going to be taking a quick read from comicbookmovie.com. As an overall garnering source, I'll have their article linked in the description down below for you guys to check out there as well. We may know when Avengers Doomsday star Robert Downey Jr., RDJ, will be back as Dr. Doom and making his debut officially within the MCU. Now, it is more coming as a theory and also kind of as a report, kind of rumored around kind of what everybody's talking about, just the overall buzz. Speaking of which, there is a lot of buzz surrounding the news that Robert Downey Jr., RDJ, has been cast as the MCU's Dr. Doom, and according to other new reports, the former Iron Man star will make his debut as the villain as soon as next year in 2025, ahead of the Avengers Doomsday movie's release in May of 2026. Let us explain. Not just too long ago, it's hard to believe this rumor started floating around online about RDJ potentially returning to the MCU as Dr. Doom. It felt like a misinterpretation of previous claims and reports, particularly as there's been chatter about the actor playing a villainous Iron Man variant for several years, it feels at this point as well. And of course, as we've come to now learn, during the splashy Hall H panel at San Diego Comic-Con this past weekend, RDJ is indeed unveiled as Avengers Doomsday and as well as Avengers Secret Wars Dr. Doom, confirmed to be appearing in the next two Avengers movies, but there are some new kind of theories and rumors and reports circulating around saying that he'll actually probably, swing around even before that within the MCU here as well. As I've been discussing in and out of our videos here on the channel, I personally never heard any reports or rumors around this idea of, RDJ making a return as Dr. Doom out of all characters within the MCU. That was something that was totally just left-sided for me, and I just wasn't seeing that coming whatsoever. If you guys maybe heard about some of those reports or rumors, let me know down in the comments down below. I'm genuinely very curious. Anyway, industry insider Jeff Snyder was first to share that news earlier this year and has dropped a few interesting updates in his latest piece on the Snyder. It sounds like Marvel Studios was eager to cast Javier Bardem as Galactus for the Fantastic Four First Steps movie. We also have more confirmation that Galactus's character is going to be in the Fantastic Four movie. I'm going to have a whole nother video talking about that in more detail and in more depth here on the channel. All the more reason to grab the subscribe button if you haven't already. But then there's also the fact that he had ran into a scheduling conflict with the upcoming F1 movie as well. They reportedly decided against chasing other A-list names and went with a much deeper and much rather of a cheaper name out there, Ralph Ensign, to take on the character of Galactus within the Fantastic Four movie. Those savings are now headed to Robert Downey Jr., it looks, who is set to make up to 9 figures for his MCU return. I also want to discuss that in a separate feature video here on the channel because it's honestly quite crazy, kind of not necessarily what it took to get RDJ back here in the MCU, but there were some interesting kind of agreements that they had to come to, and it honestly feels like those are agreements that felt like they were the best choice possible, kind of to get the job done, essentially make the fans not just happy but proud at that there as well. Now Snyder adds and also goes into his report that the deal had only closed at the beginning of next week, and also confirms the plan is still for us to first meet Robert Downey Jr.'s Dr. Doom in the mid/post credit scenes for Fantastic Four First Steps. I had also touched on this in our overview video here on the channel of all the different announcements, official confirmations at Marvel Studios Hall H panel this past weekend here as well, talking about how I definitely feel, kind of as an overall garnering theory, as I had also mentioned from the get-go at the beginning of this video, it just feels like Dr. Doom with RDJ feels like that's something that's going to be set up in next year's 2025 Fantastic Four movie, if for anything. I do believe the movie is releasing on July 25th of 2025 next year. I think that's what they said in their official confirmation and announcement. I could be wrong about that. Let me know that in the comments down below. It also remains a bit unclear whether this version of Marvel's first family will have any type of history with this Doom variant, who takes center stage in the next Avengers movie as well. Kind of everything that's going on with the different variants of Doctor Doom, the whole backstory essentially with Doctor Doom's character. Like, why does it make sense out of all of the different actors, out of all of the different characters that they would want to have this connection to have RDJ come back and then play Doctor Doom essentially for the MCU for the next 2 Avengers movies here as well. It's also something that just needs more kind of detail and in more depth of a discussion in a separate future video here on the channel. But essentially it makes sense because there is a comic storyline out there of essentially where Iron Man becomes Doctor Doom, and essentially it sounds like they're taking this into a variant and putting him into the quote-unquote sacred timeline, as we learned from the Loki Disney Plus series, to essentially make that kind of come full circle. It's like a variant of Doctor Doom. It's not necessarily the same Doctor Doom that we know from the 616 universe of the Marvel Cinematic Universe necessarily per se. That's kind of from my understanding. It then also kind of spirals off this whole other idea and question of, okay, so is the Fantastic Four with Pedro Pascal and all those characters, is that still going to be like the same characters that we know and love from the 616 universe of the sacred timeline of the Marvel Cinematic Universe? Something that kind of remains up in the air and a bit of a question. Honestly, I feel like that could be kind of like a twist almost for the Fantastic Four movie. A bit of an idea out there that I've heard of, and it's something else I'd like to discuss in a separate feature video here on the channel, is essentially this Fantastic Four family. And for this movie, we know from the first look, reveals, and even leaks from the Hall H panel. I'll have a whole nother video talking about all of those and even showing you guys those like images that we have seen leaked around of the Fantastic Four trailer and first conceptual art, essentially conceptual trailer as it's being called, that was shown at Hall H in a separate feature video here on the channel. But essentially it's a retro 60s, a like futuristic retro 60s is what that Fantastic Four movie is being set in. Honestly, for the sacred timeline for the 616 Marvel Cinematic Universe, it honestly makes sense, seeing that maybe Tony Stark's father, Howard Stark, was making, like, or much rather his grandfather technically, in the first Avenger movie, Captain America, he was making a flying car. So those kind of like retro futuristic aspirations, ideas, and concepts make sense to still be within the sacred timeline, but even then it's questionable if that like ever goes through. So there is also a lot of theories going around that this Fantastic Four is going to be set within a different timeline essentially, and they're all going to be like variants technically that somehow make the shift into the sacred timeline. Kind of the way that I see it is like by the end of the Fantastic Four First Steps movie, they'll kind of make their way into the 616 kind of timeline here essentially, and Doctor Doom is going to follow behind them essentially, kind of setting things up heavily for the Avengers Doomsday movie. Anyway, guys, unfortunately, we're out of time for today's video. Let me know all of your thoughts and opinions in the comments down below. I would love to hear what you guys are all thinking. Thanks so much for watching today's video. And of course, this has been Unofficial MCU. I'll catch you guys in the next one. Have a great one. Peace out.